November 30th, 1987, Ilkley Moor, West Yorkshire. Just after sunrise beneath a grey and restless sky, retired police officer Philip Spencer aimed his camera across the mist-covered hills. He wasn't chasing UFOs or making wild claims, just walking to visit family, hoping to capture the moor's desolate beauty. But what his lens caught that morning would thrust him into one of Britain's strangest alien mysteries. A small figure appeared ahead. Strange, humanoid, but distinctly wrong. Spencer raised his camera. Click. In that instant, the figure vanished. Moments later, he found his compass no longer pointed north, and 2 hours had passed. Time he couldn't account for, memories he couldn't retrieve. Why would a level-headed ex-cop fabricate something so bizarre? And how do we explain the missing hours, the reversed compass, and that single grainy photo, haunting in its ambiguity? To understand what really happened on that bleak, isolated moor, we have to go back to the exact moment Spencer stepped off the path and into the unknown. The Yorkshire moors are a place of legends, windswept, brooding, and ancient. By the late 1980s, Ilkley was known less for mystery and more for its quiet charm. A former spa town nestled between stone villages, sheep-dotted hills, and miles of rugged open land. Locals walked the trails for fresh air, not fear. UFOs were the stuff of tabloids, not serious conversation. Philip Spencer, the man at the heart of this story, wasn't chasing stories. He was a former Metropolitan Police officer who had recently moved to Yorkshire with his wife and young son, seeking a quieter life after years of urban duty. He was methodical, quiet, and practical, traits that made what happened that morning all the more difficult to dismiss. That day, Spencer had planned a simple trip across the moor to visit his father-in-law in the nearby village. To save time, he took a shortcut through the hills, bringing along his camera in case the fog-draped scenery offered a good shot. He'd always enjoyed photography. It grounded him. What he didn't expect was to encounter something that would destabilize everything he thought he understood about the world. In the weeks leading up to the incident, a few hikers and farmers had reported odd flashes of light over the moor. Bright, silent pulses that moved too fast to be aircraft. The sightings were sparse, casually mentioned, and often dismissed. No local panic, no media frenzy. Just isolated comments that floated through pub chatter and were quickly forgotten. But on that particular morning, something was different. As Spencer made his way across the uneven path, mist hugging the ground and wind brushing through the heather, he felt watched. It was subtle, just a sense of something being out of place, the kind of tension that prickles the skin before reason can catch up. He wouldn't remember everything that followed, not clearly, but the photograph, the reversed compass, and the lost time were real, and they were just the beginning. The air was cold and damp, typical for early winter on the moor. Spencer walked briskly along the rugged path, his camera tucked under his coat. The fog was lifting slightly, revealing the winding trails ahead. All seemed uneventful until something caught his eye. Roughly 30 meters in front of him stood a figure, small, childlike in size, but with proportions that immediately felt off. It had a large, bald head, long arms, and legs that didn't move quite like a human's. Its skin appeared pale or grayish-green, and though the figure stood still, there was an undeniable sense that it was aware of him. Spencer instinctively raised his camera and snapped a photo. The creature turned and moved quickly up the slope toward a ridge. Spencer gave chase, but then everything changed. He would later describe the moment as disorienting. The landscape around him began to warp, and his senses dulled, as though reality itself were slipping out of sync. It felt like being drugged. He said in a later interview, the world blurred. He had no memory of what happened next. When he came to, he was further up the path, facing in a different direction, with no clear sense of how much time had passed. Checking his watch, he realized it was over 2 hours later than expected. Even more bizarre, his compass needle now pointed south instead of north. Uneasy and confused, Spencer made his way to his father-in-law's home. There, his family noticed he seemed pale, agitated, and unable to explain the time discrepancy. He had a strange compulsion to review the photo he'd taken, but once developed, it only deepened the mystery. The image was grainy, poorly lit due to the fog, but there it was, a small figure, mid-stride, turning away from the camera. Its features were vague, but its posture and size didn't match anything naturally found on the moor. Still uncertain about what he'd experienced, Spencer agreed to undergo hypnotic regression. The sessions, conducted by a qualified practitioner, revealed fragmented memories of being taken aboard a craft. He described sterile, metallic interiors, tall beings communicating telepathically, and strange symbols he couldn't understand. At one point, he recalled being shown disturbing images, visions of Earth in environmental collapse, war, and societal upheaval. Whether symbolic or real, these visions left him shaken. The regression tapes, reviewed by researchers and skeptics alike, sparked fierce debate. Were they evidence of a suppressed memory, or manufactured visions pulled from imagination under hypnosis? Spencer himself remained uncertain, never fully endorsing or denying what the sessions revealed. But the trauma in his voice during those recordings felt real. Back on the moor, there were no burn marks, no physical debris, just the photograph, the missing time, and a man changed by an experience he couldn't fully explain. The encounter left more questions than answers. What did Spencer really see that day? Was it an authentic alien contact, or something else entirely? The investigation that followed would dig deep into that photo, the hypnosis, and the man at the center of it all, raising new questions that still haunt Ilkley to this day. Evidence, hypnosis, and the haunting contradictions. The reaction to Spencer's experience was as divided as it was immediate. Some UFO researchers called it one of the most credible alien encounter cases in the UK. Others, especially in local media, dismissed it quickly as either a hoax or a misidentification, fueled by fog, fatigue, or overactive imagination. Authorities never opened an official investigation, citing a lack of tangible threat or physical evidence. But within the UFO community, the story gained traction fast. At the center of it all was the photograph, grainy, poorly lit, and hard to decipher, yet strangely compelling. Skeptics argued it could easily be a man in a costume, a cardboard cutout, or even an animal caught mid-motion in the mist. Yet photo analysts at the time could not definitively identify what was captured, nor did they find signs of tampering. The photo remained frustratingly inconclusive, real but unprovable. There were no burn marks on the moor, no electromagnetic disturbances, no radar anomalies. Aside from the photograph and Spencer's account, the only other oddity was the reversed compass, a detail some found curious, others dismissed as faulty equipment. For supporters, Spencer's background gave the story weight. A trained police officer, calm under pressure, with no history of seeking attention. He never attempted to profit from the encounter, and reportedly grew more reluctant to discuss it as years went on. Under hypnosis, his fragmented recollections, visions of beings, metallic rooms, and apocalyptic imagery left him disturbed. But critics argue that hypnotic regression, especially in the 1980s, was deeply unreliable and prone to suggestion. What emerged from those sessions may have said more about the subconscious than any actual event. Psychologists noted that people under hypnosis often unconsciously create coherent narratives from isolated impressions. As Dr. Christopher French, a prominent skeptic, later put it, recovered memories of alien abduction often mirror science fiction tropes more than they do objective reality. But that doesn't mean the person is lying. They may simply be processing an unusual experience through the only framework they have. Some researchers proposed a different explanation altogether: military activity. Ilkley Moor, while rural, is not far from RAF Menwith Hill and other military installations. Could Spencer have witnessed a classified operation? Drones, personnel in experimental suits, something not meant for public eyes. Others held firm to the extraterrestrial theory. They pointed to Spencer's evident emotional distress, the consistent themes in his testimony, and the international pattern of similar reports. Missing time, telepathic communication, disjointed memories. Then, there were those who proposed something more psychological, hallucination brought on by environmental isolation, stress, or even magnetic anomalies in the terrain. But no medical evaluation ever confirmed such a condition in Spencer. His mental and physical health were reported to be sound. In the years that followed, the case remained open, not officially, but in the minds of those drawn to its strange silence. No new evidence emerged. No second witness ever came forward. Just one man, a photo, a lost stretch of time, and a lingering uncertainty. What happened on Ilkley Moor may never be conclusively proven or disproven, but for those willing to listen, to really examine the fragments, it's a mystery that still whispers from the mist. Despite all the analysis, despite the photograph, hypnosis, and countless theories, the Ilkley Moor encounter remains stubbornly unresolved. What exactly did Philip Spencer witness that morning? A non-human entity fleeing into the fog? A misidentified figure distorted by low light and stress? Or something far stranger? Something that even now, we lack the tools to fully comprehend. To this day, no official explanation accounts for the missing time, the reversed compass, or the deep emotional imprint the event left behind. Spencer never sought fame. If anything, the attention made him more guarded. He maintained a quiet life, occasionally offering interviews, but never embellishing the details. The incident stayed with him, not as proof of aliens, but as a moment of profound uncertainty. And that's what makes this story so enduring. It's not just the possibility of extraterrestrial contact. It's the quiet, human struggle to reconcile a world that suddenly stopped making sense. What do we do when reality bends, however briefly, in ways we can't explain? Was Spencer's experience a brush with the extraordinary? Or a misunderstood moment amplified by memory and suggestion? Could answers still be hidden in the Moor's silence, waiting to be uncovered? Some mysteries fade, others seem to linger, echoing quietly across the years. The Ilkley Moor incident is one of them. So what do you think? Was this a genuine encounter, or something else entirely? Let me know your thoughts below, and as always, stay curious. Was Philip Spencer's lost time and eerie photograph evidence of a real alien encounter, or something far more ordinary, distorted by fear and isolation? Share your thoughts in the comments below.